Hey there, welcome or welcome back to my channel, Diana and the Book Hunt. Today I'm going to be doing a very fun tag video that I just recently saw on Caitlin's channel from the Love Librarian, and she did it in a collaboration with Victoria from Victoria's Romance Read, so I'm going to post both of their videos down below so you can check them out as well. I had so much fun watching them, and I just saw that Michae also posted yesterday her version of the This or That tag video. The official tag for the video is the This or That Romance Readers Book Edition tag, where we're answering just quick questions in this or that form with preferences that we have when we're picking up romance books, things that we like or don't like, pet peeves that we may have. So I think it's a very fun way to get to know the person answering the questions, in this case me, when it comes to the preferences that I have when I pick up romance books. Let me just preface this video by saying that my zodiac sign is Libra, so I'm extremely indecisive when it comes to certain things. Just to give you an example, if I go to a store and I don't know what I'm getting, I may spend hours there picking up something, putting it back, going to the register with one thing, then going back, putting it back, and then choosing something else. So it's been a struggle my whole life. My 35 years of life, I've had this struggle. So please bear with me when it comes to answering a couple of these questions, because it may be difficult for me to decide. I haven't prepared anything. I did see the videos that Victoria and Caitlin and Michae did already, so I kind of know what kind of questions were asked, but I don't have prepared answers. I'll just wing it, as I say, and let's see how it goes. So here are the questions. The first one is cliffhangers or HEAs. The HEA stands for happily ever after. So I think that this really depends on the type of book that we're looking at. If it's a standalone, obviously happily ever after, but if it's a series, I really don't mind a cliffhanger, because it kind of gets me going to want to pick up the next books in the series, to kind of entice me, to prickle me, make me curious about what's going to happen in the next books. I think that if a series doesn't have a happily ever after, it typically will be a companion series, so that would also work out well if it has a happily ever after. But if it's a continuation of the same characters, I think it's better to have a cliffhanger, sorry, so it gets kind of a suspenseful curiosity awakened within the reader. So it really depends on the type of books. I would say both. So we're starting off really well with me choosing. I'm not choosing at all, but anyway, let's go on to the second question. Second question is hardcover or paperback. So here I have to say that for quite some years I haven't been purchasing many physical books. I typically read in e-format or in audiobook as of recently, the past couple of years. So if I really have to choose, I'd go for the paperback, because it's easier to carry around and just more convenient to read. If there is a book which is absolutely beautiful and I want to have it in my collection, then I would buy a hard copy of it, or a hardcover copy of it, but I would say paperback for this one. The next question is one which is very important to me when it comes to romance books. It's Angsty or Cutesy. Now, Cutesy is nice. I don't mind Cutesy. I wouldn't say that I would avoid picking up a Cutesy book, but if I tend to only read Cutesy books, I would get bored. I really need to have angst in my life, so I would go for Angsty. It just makes more sense to me that whenever there is angst or longing or some kind of hindrance between two people, just avoiding the situation of them getting together, or preventing them from getting together is the right word, that kind of creates this suspense for me that will make me want to read on to see how the situation will be resolved. So I really love that in books, and I really live for it within books. So I'll definitely go for Angsty. this is a good transition into the next question, which is emotional or rom-com. So rom-coms are typically palate cleansers for me. I don't mind them. I like reading them. But again, if I would only read rom-coms, at some point it would get boring. So I really love emotional books. If I also think about my top reads of all time, they're all emotional books. So I really would say emotional on this one. Next up, we have series or standalones. Now, this is difficult to answer. Typically, I would say standalones, but then the last 2 months I've been binging series almost consecutively. So if we're speaking at the moment, I would say series, but if we're speaking in general, I would say standalones. I love series, I love binging series, but at some point it does get draining to be in the same world, especially if a series is like Gianna Darling's Fallen Men series is like 6 or 7 books, so that could get a bit draining for a reader like me who wants to binge the full series. So yeah, it depends on the moment, it depends on my mood, and if you're hearing a plane right now, I apologize, my window is open, otherwise I would die because it's like 150 degrees outside. So next question is one which is controversial possibly for some people: Booktok or Bookstagram? Let me tell you something about the people of my age. I'm 35. I don't know that no, I cannot generalize. I cannot say that everyone is like me, but I think that people of a certain age, like in their 20s and teens, are more compelled to go onto TikTok. For me, TikTok is intimidating. I find it also very time consuming. I find that I'm losing hours of my life and I don't know how I spend them, which in my situation, when I have a job, a kid, a husband, whatever, just the full life where I need to have my responsibilities and priorities in order, it kind of is a waste of time for me. So I really tend to just not do it. I downloaded it like a couple of years ago when it just started trending, and I spent an hour or two on the application and I was like, okay, this is not for me. I'm just not going to do it. So I deleted it. And since then, I haven't had the urge to go on that app. Bookstagram, on the other hand, I love. I think that just the whole aspect of sharing pictures is more compelling to me than the whole short video clip situation that TikTok does. I know that Instagram has Reels, but I honestly don't spend too much time watching Reels. I really watch the pictures and the stories. Those are more compelling for me, and I really try to limit my screen time as well. I don't go too much on Instagram because otherwise, again, I'm losing time that I can spend either recording, editing, reading, spending time with my family, my friends, just doing fun stuff basically. So I kind of tend to avoid being too much on social media, but if I have to choose, I would say Bookstagram. The next question, my laptop died. Next question is people or object turn covers. Now, this one is probably also controversial because I know that people are very divided about this, and I know that people are very passionate about their answers for this question. But I'm gonna say I'm not bothered by any of the two. I like people, I like objects, both of them work for me, and even more, I like illustrated covers as well. I know that people hate them. People kind of associate them with traditionally published books, which often are also fade to black within romance, so people tend to not like them for some reason. But I don't mind them. I like how they look. I like the fact that someone put an amazing effort to draw them and to make this beautiful arrangement, cover, colors, whatever. And I just like all of them. So the answer is both. None. Doesn't matter to me. New releases or backlist is the next question, which is again something that really depends on the situation. Because if I have an author who is new to me, where I pick up a book and I absolutely love their book, the first book to me that I read off of their list, I'll go through their backlist, so that would compel me to go and read their other books. But if it's an author that I absolutely love and am obsessed with and am familiar with their works, typically I will have already worked through their backlist or most of their backlist, and then I want to actually wait for the new releases and we'll really pick up a new release by the specific author. So it depends. Next up we have a plane going through. For just a second, we'll wait it out for a couple of moments so you can hear me. The next one is TBR or free for all. Now, I am a notorious mood reader. I cannot for the life of me stick to any type of organized plan when it comes to books. I get very excited when I'm looking to find books to read. I put them on my TBR. At that moment, I'm very excited about them, but then I go in my head through what I want to read, and then it's not the books that I just picked for my TBR. It's just something else. I don't know, my brain does this when I tell it to want something, it just wants something else. I don't know if someone else has that, but for me, it's a very big issue. I've tried it, and typically if I put like 10 books on a TBR, I'm gonna read max 4. I just can't do the whole thing. I cannot make myself, so I tend to avoid them, and I tend to just listen to my heart and my soul and my brain and just read whatever I want at that specific moment, if that makes sense. So I'm a free-for-all girl all the way. Now, the next question, I know that everyone is answering that in one way. I think no one has answered, at least none of the people that I know will answer that in a specific. Let me just tell you the question. Open Door or Fade to Black? I think everyone chooses Fade to Black for this one, and for obvious reasons, because within a book you get a build up towards this love or feelings or sexual attraction between two characters, and you really want to see the product of the whole situation, and if it goes through a Fade to Black situation, you get frustrated. I get it, I really do. There have been a few books, I cannot think of an example right now, maybe someday I'll need to do a recommendation video for those, but there have been books that I've read that have done a tasteful Fade to Black situation where you kind of understand why it's been done that way, but there are very few and in between, so I think that Fade to Black is the more logical answer for this question. The next one is audiobooks or ebooks or paperback. So had you asked me this question 2 years ago, I would have answered ebook paperback all the way. I didn't like audiobooks for some reason. I don't know, I think I associated them with podcasts or something. I don't know, because I don't typically listen to podcasts, and for some reason I didn't want to pick up audiobooks. But then someone from my work mentioned that our work is giving us discount on Storytel, which is a Swedish application for audiobooks and ebooks, and they were like, just try it, you know, they have a free trial, you can try it. If it's not for you, then don't do it, but if it's for you, then you could possibly benefit from it. And I decided to try it out, and since then I've been hooked. I absolutely love reading audiobooks because it gives me a sense of freedom that I don't have when I'm reading an ebook or a paperback. I can read it anywhere, doing groceries, just in my lunch break, or when cleaning my house or going to the park with my kid and he's playing with other kids. I can just plug myself in, listen to the book, and I'm a happy person. So I will say audiobooks for this one. Now, the next question is Kindle or nah. This is very specific when it comes to the location someone is in, I think, at least, because I think in the States it makes more sense to have a Kindle, but I'm in Europe, and Amazon actually was not on the European market until a couple of years ago, and I really started reading for pleasure many years ago. So at that time it just didn't make sense for me to get a Kindle. So I actually started reading on my phone first, and then I transitioned over to a pocketbook. where now I just purchase my books in an EPUB format. I upload it onto my pocketbook library, so that works out fine for me, and I'm just so used to it because I've had my pocketbook for I think like 7 or 8 years, and it just works for me. I'm used to it, and it just doesn't make sense for me to get on a Kindle. I've been thinking about it because of Kindle Unlimited to maybe transition, but I'm still on the fence about that. So I'm on the fence about it. So I'll go with the other option. So nah. Next up, we have matte or glossy covers. So I think I'm gonna go for matte because I typically also with interior, I don't like glossy stuff. I like matte stuff. I'm gonna go with matte. Buddy read or fly solo? Now, I would love to do a buddy read, but unfortunately I haven't had the chance to do so yet. I'm still very new on BookTube, so if someone is up for doing a buddy read, please let me know. I'll gladly take you up on that. So at the moment it's fly solo, but who knows, maybe in the future we can do something if you're interested. Next up we have small town or dark romance. This is a really tough one because I absolutely love both. Dark romance, I do have to say that for dark romance you have to be in the right headspace, right? You have to be really in the mood to pick up a dark romance. While for small town romances, I think it works at any time, and I can pick them up back to back and not be bothered by the fact that it's the same type of trope. Well, with dark romances, if for example when I read Jennifer Hartman's Still Beating, I absolutely adored that book. It was one of my favorites of this year, but it was a really tough read because of the topics within the book. It's a really dark romance. So after I read that one, I really couldn't read another such type of book. I had to have a lighter read to kind of get me through what I just read. While with the small town romances, you can pick them up back to back and it would be alright. So I think just slightly more I would go for the small town romance, but I cannot live without dark romances, so please don't make me choose one over the other. Yeah, both. Let's go with both. Yes, we're going with both. Now, the next question is new adult or adult. So I read both, I like both, but if I have to choose one that I absolutely love, I'll go with adult. And that has to do probably with the fact that I'm at a stage in my life where I would connect more and relate more with an adult story than with a new adult story. New adult stories can tend to be or the characters could still be a bit immature, making stupid mistakes, stupid decisions. Not that people who are adult don't make those, but still the experience will let you make other decisions than when you were like in your 20s. So if I have to pick one, I would pick adult. Next up, we have sprint read or marathon read a series. I'll probably be one of the few people who will say sprint read because I typically don't like putting off reading books when it comes to a series. This has to do with the fact that I don't like rereads too much. I will do a reread for a very favorite book of mine, but I don't want to go back to read a series so that I can catch up to read up the next release, if you get what I'm saying. I would prefer to wait out for the whole series to release so that I can binge read the series. Even if it's 4, 5, 6 books, I would prefer it that way than if I have to wait for another book to release. Also, the situation that we have now with the Blood and Ash series, I picked it up while I didn't know that there's going to be this many books within the series, and I really got frustrated at some point that I was like, I should have looked it up because now I have to wait for another book to release. But I'm loving the series, so I'm obviously going to pick up the next release. But yeah, it just frustrates me, so I'm going to go with sprint read. Next up is read multiple books at once or one at a time. I am a one at a time type of girl. I have to say that really I'm focusing and I'm really immersing myself into the stories that I read. So getting two plot lines mixed up, although typically if I'll pick up multiple books at the same time, they'll be completely different books, so I don't get them mixed up. But yeah, typically one at a time type of girl. Sorry, my brain shortcutted for a second. All right, next up we have alpha hero or cinnamon roll hero. This question is breaking my heart in two, and it's not possible to just decide which of the two parts is heavier than the other. I absolutely love cinnamon roll heroes. I cannot tell you how much it fills my heart to read a good cinnamon roll hero. But then if I think about the books that I'm reading now, I'm reading the Twisted series by Anna Huang. Those alpha heroes just do something for me. I don't know what it is. The asshole-ish behavior just appeals to me for some reason. Something twisted is going on when I read about them, and it just works for me. Obviously in real life that's not going to be the case, but for fiction it just triggers something that works. So it really is difficult for me to choose. But then when I think about the last 5-star read that I had, which is Abby Jimenez's A Part of Your World, Daniel was the best cinnamon roll hero that I've read in a while. So I can't choose. This is just, no, I'm not choosing on this one. I like both, so let me take both. Please don't make me choose. The next one is about our heroines. Do we like a baddie or a damsel in distress? I do not like damsel in distress. I do not like that trope at all, because it kind of makes me think that the woman is incapable of doing something, and I'm a very convinced woman that a woman should be able to do almost anything in life, and we are, in my opinion, the superior sex out of the two. So a baddie all the way. I want my women strong, independent, strong-willed, badass, being able to fight the world. Those are the heroines that really fill my heart with joy, so I'm gonna go with a baddie. The last question is slow burn or Insta-Love. If you've checked any of my videos before, especially the one where I told you about my favorite and least favorite tropes, I absolutely hate Insta-Love. That is the type of thing in books that just does not work for me. I hate it when people meet each other and immediately they're like, you're the one for me, I'm gonna marry you, I'm gonna have your babies, and like within 20% of the book we have the people together, and then I'm like, so what's gonna happen now that they're together so quickly within the book, and how is it gonna work out? They don't know each other. How do you get to this place? I don't get it. So yeah, I like when I have a slow burn where we have the author really crafting situations between the two characters that allows the reader to get to know them, why they fell in love, why the two are meant to be together, why they're soulmates. Also to create some kind of a yearning, some kind of an angst within the book. This is something that I live for within books, so slow burn all the way. These were all the questions off of the list of the this or that tag. I absolutely love doing this tag, and I love watching the videos of the other booktubers, so I'm looking forward to reading other booktubers tag videos, and I hope you liked it. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Let me know what your answers would be to these questions. I'm very curious to know, and I hope to see you very soon in the next one. Happy reading, have a wonderful day, take care, and bye-bye.